Greetings, everyone. My name is Jonathan Bailey. I'm from the website plagiarismtoday.com, and I am a copyright and plagiarism expert with 15 years' experience in this field, including doing plagiarism analyses such as the one we're going to be doing now, though this is not a full and formal plagiarism analysis by any stretch. That said, today we're taking a look at this guy, Butch Hartman. He is the creator of Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom, a bunch of other cartoons, and I myself am a very, very large Fairly Odd Parents fan, so this is personal to me, at least in that regard. That said, he left Nickelodeon Studios in 2018 and has been working as an independent artist since then. And one of the things he's been doing is taking commissions, where he's been paid hundreds of dollars to draw whatever the person that commissioned him described. And one such person commissioned him to draw the character Mikasa Ackerman. I'm sure I butchered that. I actually don't watch Attack on Titan, but she's a character from Attack on Titan. And basically, minutes after he shared that it felt like minutes after he tweeted it out, people began to jump on him, accusing him of plagiarizing a 2018 Japanese artist by the name of 028 Ton, who had done very similar work in 2018. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the two works, try to make a determination on what actually happened here, and what fault Hartman is at this, or what degree of responsibility he has, or basically how bad this is. So to do that, we need to take it to monitor number 2. Let's get started. Here we have the two images side by side. You have Hartman's on the left and the original by 028 Ton on the right. And the first thing you can see just by looking at them side by side is how these images are indeed very strikingly similar. And I'll use the word strikingly similar here. They have the same character, obviously. They're both drawings of Mikasa, but they are both in this exact same pose, functionally. They're both lit the same way. You can actually tell that the lighting on both characters is identical because you can look at the her right, our left arm. Our left, her right arm is in shadow on both, and that is something that would indicate the light is coming from our right, her left. And that's a pretty strong indication. You have of course, you have the scarf, which is laying roughly the same way. And overall, the composition of these images in terms of pose and lighting and so forth are pretty much identical. But when you start getting to the details, the two images do have a lot of differences. Now, I encourage you to hear me out here and listen to this whole thing, because I'm talking about why this may not be exactly a huge deal, but it has to be noted. You'll note that Hartman's version is done in a more, well, to be frank, cartoony style. It's done very much in the style that he does. You can look at the lines and the jacket and so forth. He has a series of lines and indentation, lines and shadow lines all down this her left arm of the jacket. They are not there on the original. Likewise, the shadow on the right arm of Mikasa in the Butch one is very different from the shadow you see in the original. So you go back and forth between them. You see that there are significant differences. Another one you can note very quickly here is look at the waist dress. I don't know if it's a skirt or a waist dress or what, but the skirt here comes down and is between her finger and her forefinger and thumb. Here, it doesn't reach there. There's no skirt in that gap. Furthermore, her finger reaches way down past the second belt on her leg. Here, the forefinger reaches down barely to the first belt. Now, is that a minor difference? Yes. But these are similarities that we would expect when we're dealing with actual, true, literal tracing. There was the story of Greg Land recently. He was accused of plagiarizing Alien artwork, and that one hinged upon him copying some very specific fine details. I'm going to put an image up somewhere in this time to illustrate this, but it's very specific fine detail, and you don't see that kind of copying of the fine details here. It's more of a situation where the macro elements are copied. Like I said, the composition, the structure, all that is copied, but the details are very much different. And once again, that comes from Hartman doing it in his own style, basically doing her in his own style. But that raises a question. I mean, does that excuse this from being a plagiarism? Well, let's have a chat about that. So let's bring it here to wrap it back up and sort of come to some kind of final conclusion here. I think the word trace gets overused a lot in dealing with these types of image plagiarism cases. Trace has a very specific meaning. If you pull up the Merriam-Webster's definition, you learn pretty quickly that it's all about laying an overlay and copying line for line. And I just flatly do not believe that happened here. I believe that Hartman made his own image. I think he started from the blank paper and did it himself. If he did trace elements, they were relatively minor and insignificant compared to the whole of the image. That said, there's still a problem here. It's very, very clear that he used this as a reference image, and artists use reference images all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is 99.99999 times out of a billion that artists use a reference image, it is impossible to know what reference image was actually used. Typically speaking, the elements that are copied from the reference image are about pose, lighting, or subtle details in the lighting, the shadowing, how things fall, things that you really can't see when translated into a final work of art. So artists may use several reference images, but you'll never really be able to track it back. In this case, it was pretty easy for the fans to track it back, and that's the problem here. No matter how this happened, no matter if Hartman did trace, no matter if he did completely freehand it and ended up creating something this similar, he created something far too similar to what he was using as his reference material, and that's a problem. So in the end, yeah, I definitely believe that Hartman went too far here, and that's what makes it sting. Is Hartman is a well-established artist. I know he's a bit of a divisive figure. I don't know the full history. I'm not going to claim to, but yeah, he is an established artist. He's an artist with a reputation, a strong brand, and when an artist like that plagiarizes, A, they should know better. And B, they're capable of doing a lot more harm. If some upstart fan artist had done this and said, hey, look at this work, they might have been chided for it. They might have been made fun of for it, but it probably wouldn't have led to this. It wouldn't have, certainly got him, trending on Twitter or whatnot. No, it's the fact that it was who it was. It was the fact that it was Hartman that did it. All in all, this is a story of an artist who just produced something too similar to his reference material, regardless of how he did it. Yes, I agree. Hartman, I knew I was going to do it once. Hartman did go too far. He did commit plagiarism. And while we'll probably never know exactly how he did it or what the exact process was on his part, maybe he'll come forward. He hasn't said anything in the days since this broke, so it's unlikely he'll do so now. But if he does, maybe we'll find out more then. However, it's unlikely we're going to know the actual details of what happened in this case. So the one thing that's clear is he created a work that is far too similar to the source. There's not much doubt who the source is. And because of that, yeah, that's a problem. So I'm going to leave that here, folks. Definitely take a moment, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You know the drill. You've heard it a million times before. Also, check out plagiarismdata.com. I've got a full article there about it that says much the same thing. But also over, 4,000 other articles that you can read, 15 years of history doing plagiarism analysis. And in the comments below, let me know what plagiarism stories you want me to cover. I'm interested in covering the plagiarism and copyright related stories you want to see. So let me know in the comments. I'll be eager. Until then, this is Jonathan Bailey, signing off.